Hi there, welcome to FMCG by Alex. My name is Alex, and today I would like to talk to you about selective distribution. So, when more isn't always better. So, let's start with the basics. So, what is selective distribution? You have broad distribution, which is actually as much as possible, numerical distribution basically, and you have weighted distribution, which means that you sell a lot in a limited number of stores. So, actually, 1,000 stores could be the numerical distribution, where maybe 100 of those 1,000 stores are actually selling 80% of the volume. So 100 actually have the highest weighted distribution of these 1,000. So basically, what this video is about is not so much the difference between weighted and numerical distribution. I gave the example just to make sure you are familiar with the concept. Basically, this is about selective distribution. It's making choices whether you go broad, meaning as many as possible, which is normally for FMCG a key success factor. So more is better. So having it everywhere, any outlet that is actually taking your product, that is actually a key success factor for this category. However, there are products and brands, of course, that are looking at selective distribution. So, what is selective distribution? That you are not going everywhere and that you are picking the outlets based on certain criteria to actually sell your product. FMCG products can be from very cheap to very premium, and a lot of it in between, obviously, and that is where the differences are. So, if you look at cheap, generally, cheap products actually need to be everywhere. And of course, premium products have a more limited distribution because the roadside stalls, the traditional stores, basically in various markets, middle low income brackets, basically that is not the customer group you are focusing on. So to put it in outlets for them to buy, yeah, that would lead to a the outlets not selling anything, and b a lot of returns probably. So it doesn't make any sense, and it would devalue your brand because hey, I can also see it in an outlet that is not premium. Therefore, the product, the brand might not be premium. This is also something that you need to keep in mind with regards to mass market versus premium. So, in essence, some brands actually really benefit from being everywhere. You have to basically imagine, though, that products that are really damaged by being everywhere are very few. So if you look at most of the premium products, they have a strategy where they are actually putting it, they are making an effort to put it into the premium outlets, the selective distribution outlets, basically, that you would normally pick, versus they will push or it will trickle down to all of the traditional trade anyway. So in essence, they still have a price point which is for SKUs that actually can fit there. So this is the thing that comes down to what is really premium. So take for example Nespresso coffee. Nespresso coffee is a very interesting example. So they have these small uh, Nespresso cups, capsules basically, and a special machine that actually is there to make coffee. Now, Nespresso started late 80s actually with launching this concept already, and back then they were following the traditional retail route, so where you actually could buy the machines and you could buy the coffee there as well. It's just that not so many people had the machine yet, therefore the coffee would actually expire on the shelf, and it was just a bit of a headache for them to actually launch it. Now, what they did in the end was actually try to make it exclusive. So they had an espresso club where you could actually order the machines and also uh, the coffee online. And of course, you could get all sorts of exclusive gifts and save up for loyalty programs for that sort of stuff. So that actually made it. It's actually before internet was really a thing. So it's actually very good, like more like a catalog business actually back then. But it gives you an example of how exclusive distribution actually is. Yeah, basically back then already a thing. If you look at nowadays, yeah, Nespresso, how it evolved. Now you see a lot of compatibles. Of course, you see also in some cases they have opened retail stores themselves, so Nespresso stores in various places. So they are still going for exclusive distribution, but it's broader. So they are actually broadening it a little bit and trying to find that sweet spot before you go into every nook and cranny of the market, basically. Now, then, basically, this has directly to do with channel selection and ranging strategy. So, as I say, Nespresso has actually went out of retail and into a catalog business, basically. But if you look at, let's say, premium products going into a middle-low supermarket, like I mentioned before, it's a bad idea. You are basically looking at very low sales or maybe devaluing your brand, even if sales are there, basically. So that's you have an entire range of products. Let's say you have 10 products. Maybe there are a few products that you really are saving up for the premium market, and you have a number of products that actually could go into broader channels. That usually has to do with price. So if you look at, let's say, smaller packages, smaller SKUs, basically to go into like a more like a travel size package, basically that could go into smaller outlets or broader outlets. Like could, for example, be in mini markets, could be in travel retail, that sort of thing. So these things are common. Exclusive products, of course, you basically have exclusive SKUs, larger pack sizes. Actually, they also have a specific retail channel. So it's very important to think about your channel selection and also your ranging strategy for each channel. Having said that, like I said, mostly 99% of FMCG brands, they are benefiting from being everywhere all the time. It's just that you need to make sure that you emphasize certain channels. So let's say I work for Ultra Jaya, Ultra Milk, which is basically synonymous for liquid milk in Indonesia. So the first milk brand in Indonesia. So everybody is associating that brand with liquid milk. So that is the most premium brand. When I worked there, they were the most premium brand. I think there are a couple of contenders at this moment, but they are the most premium brand in Indonesia. So they were trying to lock up the most exclusive retail channels. If the most exclusive retail channel wasn't selling ultra milk, they were doing something wrong. They were not exclusive. So that perception you need to have in your mind, and therefore it went down to really the smallest traditional retail store, but not for every SKU, not for the family pack size, for example. And the 1 liter milk, they only had, for example, the single servings where the 125 milliliter, 200 milliliter, 250 milliliters, basically. And it depended really on, regional, local preferences, also which SKUs actually would go in. But the idea was that it was aspirational. So you have premium retailers having the best of the best product. Therefore, everybody else was trying to mirror it in the market. So you can be premium and still be everywhere. So that's actually something I also want to make sure that everybody understands, that who is now watching this video. Just in case you think, oh my God, I have to pull my product out of so many retail stores because I'm in too many, or my positioning is different from where I am at this moment. Don't worry too much about that. Like I said, I will go into detail on when to do it when you are looking at selective distribution. So exclusivity can also be given in exchange for marketing support. It can be another reason for going for selective distribution. For example, I used to own a craft beer brand in the Netherlands, so craft beer was a big thing. So I was active in basically one province, and then a couple of the adjacent provinces. Actually, just across the border, we were having retail outlets that were basically catering to tourists. Now, Holland is a small country, and in essence, if you look at, let's say, there are 3, 4 outlets in a village or a small town, basically, that could sell craft beer. There's also some laws of course, that prohibit from being sold directly to consumers and all those things at that time. But I mean, the point was that there are maybe off licenses or supermarkets that actually selling the product. So what I did was trying to see that, okay, if you are everywhere, let's say you have 4 outlets in a town, a small village, or a town, that I'm stuffing all these outlets with my product. That means that none of them actually make enough volume, but I actually picked out one to give exclusivity to, and everybody who wanted my brand actually would go to that particular outlet. 1 or 2 exceptions, but I mean, that was the philosophy behind it, because There was, of course, also, if you have a small market like that, then everybody's complaining like, "Hey, he's also selling it. Why should I sell your product if he's also selling it?" Or especially specialist stores versus supermarkets. Specialist stores were very upset when supermarkets would carry it. Now you will have the same thing in other markets where maybe traditional trade stores will say like, "Hey, the supermarket there is selling it, and you are actually looking at discounts constantly you're giving to the modern trade in order to keep the rotation going, and the traditional trade store has to actually buy it at a price higher than the discount price." So that's something that came up, and I basically gave in exclusivity in exchange for them. Now, marketing support is a big word, but I could put a poster, I could put some POS material, I could put a display. Sometimes they would, for example, really push it or keep my brand as the only brand they were selling for the local products. Like from this province, for example, there was a couple of other brands that they would keep out the door in exchange for me giving exclusivity to them. The other brands, of course, could go to one of the other outlets in the town and do their thing. So it's not like I'm trying to keep anyone out of the market. So that also creates artificial scarcity. So you have scarcity in the market, meaning like it's more difficult. You have to make an effort to actually get it. Means that that already gives you. People have to make an effort. It's not an impulse product. People have to make an effort to get it. That is actually something that also alludes to premium. We have a more premium setting. Then, of course, what can also be of influence is basket size and average purchase value inside a store. So, let's say you are listing your product in a store that actually caters to a middle low, or it's a convenience store basically, and your product is actually not at the pricing of a convenience store, even though people with enough cash actually go there, enough disposable income go there to buy it. The convenience store actually has maybe an average purchase value, which is people are just for convenience. They are stopping by to top up, or they are stopping by. They just don't have time. It's maybe at a transit area or something like that. People are moving from one was it transit to another basically. Yeah, they don't have enough time, and they don't have enough room to actually bring larger products, or they are not looking at more expensive. It's not a decision they're looking to make. So that can have a big impact on how you select the outlets that you are putting your product. So even some things that can actually look like a good idea, maybe isn't a good idea. Now, rather than being very spastic about it and really like paralyzing yourself with a lot of analysis before you go into a channel, trial, that is actually it. So look at talk to the buyer and say, can I do a trial in your channel? Let's see how it goes. Limited time trial, then it's also still exclusive. That is also part of it, of course. Like limited time is always exclusive. Then you have basically a way of testing the channel, seeing whether your hypothesis of this works here works out, and you can basically look at it. So rather than paralysis by analysis, basically, that you just test it. Then, last but certainly not least, you are looking at the demographics per area. So I've worked for several premium brands. So the first thing we always used to ask in a city, and then I'm talking mainly about Indonesia, but it could also be in a country like the Netherlands. Let's say the town I live in, basically, it has a more elite area, and it has a more middle low area, basically, where also supermarkets are catering to these different areas. So just in the case of Nespresso, which Nespresso coffee, which the distributor here is actually was selling to supermarkets. Now, there were maybe two supermarkets in the entire town that were located inside the area that had people with disposable income. Therefore, the most likely people to own one of those machines to use the cups and the capsules. So that's something that distribution was actually attempted at in those outlets. The same as when I was in Indonesia. Basically, we had a city like, for example, Jakarta or Medan or Semarang or Surabaya, one of the larger ones, where you basically ask the distributor, okay, can you take me to the area with the highest per capita income, so the highest income brackets. What are the elite areas? So is there an outlet close to this elite area? Now, then that is normally where you need to be. That was for Ultramilk the case. I've worked for Uvit vitamin company, which is also a premium brand. So these companies actually needed to be in those particular supermarkets, and in Uvit's case also pharmacies, in those areas. So it's more likely that people who live there are able to afford the products and actually would like to purchase it. So of course, you have certain areas that are really middle low. So actually, a lot of people with lower incomes live there. Should you not try there? Yeah, that is also again a trial and error thing. Basically, there are sometimes there are outlets that have a more regional uh, function. So people come there from very broad, yeah, broad range of suburbs, basically. So yeah, that could also be trial and error, but usually the no-brainer was actually to look at, okay, where is actually the premium area if you have a premium product. If you are looking at a more mass market product from your side, yeah, of course you can go anywhere basically. So when to limit distribution? Now this is the good stuff. Basically, first of all, you can do it geographically. So geographically can be, for example, now in my case with craft beer, I had something that was really more geared towards the province that I was living in. Tourists coming here, it's a touristic province basically. So tourists coming here, they would want to bring something from this province. So that is the reason why you limit your distribution geographically. I've tried to expand it outside, but you see that it's usually like a one or two times reorder, and then people have said, okay, this is why should I actually buy something from that area? When I go there, I'll buy it, and that's it. So there are certain things. If you look at other markets, for example, Indonesia, you have. For example, Bali. Bali has certain specialties. There are specialties for every area, actually, but then it doesn't make sense to actually sell these specialties outside of these areas because it is really so linked to it, or people are not consuming it outside. Even in the Netherlands, when you look at, it's a tiny country, but if you look at the north versus the south, it's actually such a big difference in consumption. Um, Wafers, so wafer cookies, basically below the big rivers, so the south of the country, southern half of the country, they eat it. In the north, they don't. So this is already such a big difference in tastes, basically. So just to give you an example of geographic limitation, in essence. So northern part of the Netherlands also is a little bit more Spartan with regards to their taste. They have less variety, also, yeah, less, yeah, expatriates, less foreign people who actually started to live here, basically. So normally, if you look at the south or the west of the country in the Netherlands, yeah, you see it's more multicultural, basically. A lot of people from other countries, for various reasons, work and live there, and therefore also the requirements of the stores actually has changed. So they need to cater more towards people from different ethnicities to yeah, I mean, for them to have a different taste from traditional Dutch taste, basically. Where in the north it's maybe less. So yeah, it's slower to uptake to take up, basically, here. So um, then, of course, you can do it by income bracket. So income bracket is actually where I said this premium versus middle low, lower incomes, basically. So that makes sense. So areas where you are looking at, okay, this people can't afford my product, or this is not the area that I have potential, basically, for my product. And then, of course, by use case. In use case, I mean, in some areas they use products in a different way. So where there might be some places they might use something as a snack, and the other places they might use the same thing as an ingredient for, let's say, baking. So and this is plenty of different cases where this can differ in the same country, but so that can also be a reason why you change the channel selection, why you change the selection of outlets, also the ranging strategy, which outlets actually go. Yeah, you put the emphasis on. We had a very funny or interesting. It's more interesting, not funny. It's an interesting difference also in With UVIT, so UVIT in Indonesia is more like it's vitamins. So basically, they had gummy vitamins. So we sold it into supermarkets, we sold it into pharmacies. Pharmacies were really our biggest, and some non-traditional channels like hardware stores, etc. So more like impulse, and then we expanded to other countries. And then you see in Thailand, for example, where you have a place like Watson's or a place like 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is a convenience store. That is where they also were selling a lot of skincare, cosmetics products, basically. We think, okay, hey, this is actually a different way of like 7-Eleven in Indonesia. Unfortunately, no longer there, but it was really a convenience store. 7-Eleven in other countries, and the US, it's also something where you are looking at more traditional convenience food and beverage store, basically, where you can sit and eat. But in Thailand, of course, they had a different profile for the entire thing. So this is where also the difference in ranging and SKUs actually that you select for these stores can differ. Then, of course, if you benefit from exclusivity, so exclusivity, you make an exclusive deal with a certain retailer, that can also be a reason for limited distribution, for basically selective distribution. Um, that means that in exchange for that, they are pushing it. They are actually marketing it. They're putting it in their mailer. They're putting it on their website. They are actually in store. They are doing something extra without charging you an arm and a leg for it. Now, then I think I already gave the example with the craft beer, but just in case there is not enough volume to go around. So let's say, one store could actually make a good living from your product, but if you would add another store to it, that's the thing. If there are four stores in a row, you sell to all four, or you only pick one. Now, that's the thing that you need to keep in mind, that if you do it to all four, then maybe you have to divide the volume through four by four, and then four stores have very little turnover, while you could also concentrate it all in one store where you actually get decent support and maybe are not thrown out. So that's the thing that is worth considering as well. So you benefit in a way also from exclusivity, but you basically are basing it on not enough volume to go around to all the stores. Now, what also limited distribution does is avoiding to create excess stock in the market, because every time you open a new channel, so you are pushing for new outlets to open, that doesn't always mean that you are accessing new consumers. The ideal scenario is that you are getting new consumers in the door, like people have never seen your product before, never been able to reach your product before. But let's say the supermarket that you were supplying, and let's say 2 kilometers down the road, you are actually opening another outlet. The people who used to live there would go to the supermarket, but now actually are buying it down the road. So the volume in this supermarket declines, and there actually the volume increases. So maybe it's actually the same volume, you are just distributing over different stores, and as a result, rather than having one store selling it, you're actually creating excess stock in the market, meaning also you have to take returns. Returns actually, so the stock is not selling fast enough. Maybe this close to expiry, you are actually looking to discount it at some point to move it out before expiry date. Now, then, as soon as you discount a premium product, your premium image is down the drain. So, having said that, you can still do it in a limited way, but normally premium brands are avoiding this, avoiding to discount heavily. Then another reason why you might want to limit distribution is because in the beginning you need to control all, just to make sure that you are on top of the outlets that you are supplying. There's a friend of mine who is currently doing that also with his brand in Indonesia. Needs to control all, does it all with his own people, avoids actually working with distributors at this moment, because he's still in the early stages where he needs to really build it and wants to make sure that he maximizes the distribution for the products. When you need to control all, of course, there's you have a limited number of resources, unless you are a multi-billionaire, eccentric multi-billionaire who is, wants to build brands like that for the fun of it. But normal people basically would say, okay, I have a limited amount of money and resources to actually do it. So they need to control all. Why would you want to control all? Is basically because if you hand it off to a distributor, it's not your own team anymore. So if you have your own team, you control the direct outcome of what your team does. Doesn't mean that they will automatically sell that much more, but at least you know all the reasons. You're quicker to react. You're quicker to move, and at some point you can move it to a distributor if it gets too big for you to handle. You need to actually grow and you don't have more resources. Now, and then very last but not least, the idea of linking experiences to retail. So you have limited distribution in the sense of like certain channels that you need to link an experience with the availability. So let's say, for example, there is a specific example in India where basically it's a cosmetic skincare brand basically, that they have a Ayurvedic profile. So they actually were looking at going to all these centers in India to use that as a distribution channel because people were already there for that particular experience, and therefore they could actually easily transform them to customers to buy these products in retail. So nobody else was there at that time. But basically that was the combination of, okay, you experience something and then a retail channel, you actually can purchase it in instantly. So that is also the fact of like limited distribution, meaning like you want to link it really to an experience of people. So it's the same thing as actually, okay, I'm selling something that is sports related and I'm selling it around a sports event or a sports arena or something like that. So you link it to a social event or a sports event basically. So these are examples for limited distribution. Now, like I said, in 98 to 99% of the cases, limited distribution or selective distribution is something that is not a wise thing to do. In the few cases that selective distribution comes into play, and please don't use this as a rule of thumb where I say, 98, 99%. So I always avoid having selective distribution in places. Now, in some cases, it can be situational, like I mentioned, can be by geography, can be by income bracket, can be by use case, or if you can make an exclusive deal with people. In the beginning, I would avoid making exclusive deals unless it really brings you so much benefit like a small guy working with a big guy, that could be it. Otherwise, you are limiting yourself. I would say, linking in that sense. Selective distribution is a tool for premium brands that also need to really protect their channel. So actually not subjected to a lot of discounts, create an air of scarcity basically, and of course when the volume is not enough to feed the mass market. So if you open a mass market, then there will be a lot of stock in the market and nobody sells spectacular amounts. But if you have a few outlets that could sell spectacular amounts, then you have both an air of exclusivity and of course very happy outlet owners. So that's something that is to keep in mind for your choices in either you go mass market or you go selective distribution. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to email me at alex@devriessalesconsultancy.com in case you have any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please do follow us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We have all these social media channels active for FMCG by Alex, basically. I would love to hear from you if you have anything I can do for you, anything I can help you with, any questions I can answer. Please don't be afraid that the meter is running right away. we love to help. Of course, we run a business. We have a consultancy company that is actually advising FMCG companies to FMCG producers, both small and big, to enter new markets, to do various product launches, help them with the marketing, help them with distribution, basically. So feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you. And because today is Idul Fitri in Indonesia, I would like to wish everybody Selamat Idul Fitri. Thank you so much.